welcome to the London Hour. It's not in London, it's not an hour, but I'm here to share thoughts, commentary, and opinions with you about tabletop role-playing games and your other favorite forms of entertainment. Good morning. Hope you're all doing well. I'm rushing again, always rushing. But we're here, and that's what matters. We're here, and we're going to talk about play-by-post, which is awesome. We love it. We love the play-by-post. And I've got to get a couple other things opened up because we might be using the tablet today, and that'll be fun. How do I... Not prepared with that. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. Play-by-post is fun, and we're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk about how I got introduced to it, things I've learned about it along the way, things that it's good at, things that it struggles with, how you can make the most of it, all that good, fun, happy stuff. So, I didn't have a song prepped today either, or yesterday, so I got to get back on the song horse. But I guess that's more time for me to practice something if I want to or need to. Okay, everything else is working, so we're about ready to go. Oh, here's one other thing I need to do. I need to get prepared to have this set up here, which I was not ready for. But that's okay. Let's do this. Okay, cool. Gotta get the tablet drawing up on here. And move it down here. Don't mind me, just not being prepared. Oh, anyway. Here we go. Where to start? I have some notes. I have some things I want to talk about as far as play-by-post is concerned. If you don't know what play-by-post is, it's any number of mediums of playing role-playing games where you are interacting with the game master and other fellow players through a written interface of some kind. Play-by-post used to, in the past, be literal written letters. You could do certain games sending letters back and forth, and then there were forums and this, that, and the other thing. A lot of play-by-post games now happen on Discord, various channels, and there's a lot of cool tools that are out there, so we're going to talk about some of those. One that we're very fond of in my circles is RPG Sage, which is a bot that's been written by Randall, and a really great guy and really great tool. So there are tools for rolling dice in chat channels. There are tools for creating character aliases and different names. So you post and you have the little picture of the character and all that good stuff. But as soon as I figure out how to open up a new image on this thing, then we'll move over to it. But for some reason, it's eluding me. Oh, reset the canvas. That's how. Oh, I should save this first. Reset the canvas. Aha, there we go. Okay, so now we can move over to here. And I'm going to have to resize this because I didn't have it as its own source before. And now I do. So, bear with me while I get my stuff together. And it looks like the whole thing's not going to fit, which is weird because it's in 16:9. Good enough. We can draw. We can say... No, we can't, because I forgot how to do this. What did I customize this to? Oh, there we go. Then we can say, good morning. And try to get my handwriting better. Okay, so... play-by-post. First, we have to start with a story because it's me. I had some life circumstances that kept me from being able to play in live games. simple. That's the simplest way to put it. And I didn't have time. I didn't have the ability to set aside whole chunks of time to do live play sessions with people. I didn't have a local group. And so I was simply just unable to play RPGs at all. And so I joined a community that was doing a lot of talking about RPGs. I was having a great time learning about RPGs, getting into arguments about RPGs. And I joked at one point that the only RPG, or my favorite game to play, was the game of talking about RPGs because it's the only one I had access to. So along the way, in about late 2022, there was a member of the server who said, "Hey, I wonder if anybody would be interested in doing a play-by-post game." And I went, I would be very interested in that, because what appealed to me about it was some of the features we're going to discuss. This was the PvP game that became known as the Juggernaut of New Dawn. It is now 2026, and New Dawn is still going. Pretty great. And that's where most of my experience with play-by-post comes from. So, I lost my train of thought already, but that's okay. The features that it had for me is that I could, pick it up and put it down at any time. So for people who don't have large chunks of time to dedicate to a game, for example, this is a way for them to be able to interact 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, whatever it might be. So the example I always give is if I'm standing at the stove waiting for water to boil to make pasta, I can pull up Discord on my phone and I can write messages in character and do role-playing that way. So it's very accessible, is a big strength. And that was huge for me. It was literally the only way that I was able to play any sort of game. In fact, I didn't do anything as a live session of a role-playing game until, well, it would have been February this year when I started this channel. There was no live play in my life until then. So I have been subsisting on play-by-post for 4 years at this point, with a 1-year break in between. So that is my, I guess, if you want to call them credentials. That's my credentials of interacting with play-by-post. Now, this game, this Pathfinder 2 game, ran for, I want to say 2 or 3 months, and then I decided that I wanted to try and dip my toe into new and other systems. I still only had access to play-by-post, and so we had a Pathfinder 2 game, and I'm going to note down the games that I've had experience with, because I think they're surprising to some people who don't know that much about play-by-post as far as what works and what doesn't work. And then I started, because I wanted to learn about PBTA, I started a game of Offworlders. And Offworlders is a very lightweight science fiction role-playing game. It's about 30 pages. It's pay what you want, if you look it up on DriveThruRPG or wherever. And there's not much to it. It has 4 stats. It has a couple character abilities. And basically, you're just, when you need to have a roll called for, you're rolling 2d6, and you're seeing what the results are in the standard PBTA framework. If you're not familiar, that basically means if it's 6 or less, you don't really get what you want. The GM takes control of what happens. If you get a 7 to a 9, then there's some room for you to get a little bit of what you want, but also the GM can introduce some complications. If you get a 10+, you more or less get what you want when you did the thing that you did. So pretty simple resolution, but one of the things about PBTA is that, and this is another whole topic we need to talk about, is how do you handle initiative systems in a play-by-post? And then we also need to talk about the differences between asynchronous. Wow, I can't write that at all. Yep, redo. Async or synchronous. I have never done synchronous play-by-post, except by, accident, but we'll get to that. The initiative system of a Powered by the Apocalypse game is very spotlight-based. So it's about the GM calling for action when and where it makes sense. And one of the things you can run into if you have a spotlight-based initiative and you're running play-by-post is that there are bottlenecks. to keep in mind. So one of the bottlenecks that you might have in a Spotlight initiative system is the GM availability. If the GM is not on top of it, then they won't be there to kind of manage the moment-to-moment shifting of the focus from this character to that character. Okay, we're going to stop there and we're going to focus over here for a minute. And so you lose some of that, and so that's kind of a requirement, I think. When people say, oh, you can't do play-by-post, or, you can't do Powered by the Apocalypse, or you can't do Forged in the Dark and play-by-post, you can. You just have to have like a really high GM availability. And for my part, I did when I was running this Offworlders game. So that ran for about 3-4 months. And it was really fun. And then I continued to play Pathfinder 2 throughout that time as well. The nice thing about play-by-post as well is that you could be in multiple games across multiple systems with multiple different groups all at the same time, because there is no actual time that you've blocked out, so they can all kind of intermesh with one another. And another thing about that is you can intermesh scenes within themselves. We'll get to that too. There's just so much to unpack here, and it's kind of tricky to figure out how exactly I want to do it. Give me 1 second too, because I pulled some notes out, but I want to make sure they don't pop up on the screen in case I have anything else on there I don't want you to see. I might have to figure out how to do this. We'll put it over here, I guess. Okay. So, there. That's back now. And I'll put these notes up here. I really could use 3 monitors for some of these streams. Really could. So where are we? So initiative. Another thing that people tend to think that I've seen in conversations is, a game with structured initiative is, they ask, well, how does that work? And the answer is it works extremely well. In fact, it's maybe my preferred method of initiative systems in play-by-post games, because you're going to have some number of combatants, and they're going to get some number that's going to tell you when they go in the turn order. And you go through like this. Very simple. At a table, you just simply do it. You go check, 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 check. But when you're doing play-by-post, if, let's say, let's put some more on here just for fun. Let's say that A is a creature, and C is a creature, and F is a creature. And the rest are players. So we'll do players, I don't know. Player, player, player. They rolled terribly. The GM is going to take control, and they're going to check off this turn. And then they're going to notify this player with a ping. Likely, if you're using Discord or whatever communication method that you want to use. And the general rule, this is kind of a, it's going to be different for every group, but the general rule of thumb is there's this 24-hour rule. That's going to be its own topic later, so we'll draw an arrow for later. And so that player now gets a notification that their turn is ready. And they take their turn, it proceeds, the GM does this person's turn, and then they're going to ping who? Player D? No. They're going to ping player D and player E. Because frequently what you can do is something called block initiative. And this is the silver bullet in running play-by-post, especially when you have, let's say, a party with 5 players and you have 6, 7 monsters on the table. Whenever you have groupings of initiatives together within the allies, you just ping them both, and you let them take their turns in whatever order they want. And then, and this is the important thing about using block initiative, and then you are gracious and forgiving if anything would have changed in between their turns that would have just changed what they would have done, or if there would have been a buff applied. So here's an example. And here's why you do this. Let's pretend we don't have block initiative for a moment. Player D isn't available, but player E is. So we wait, and then finally D takes their turn. Well, now player E isn't available. They were earlier, but they're not now. So now you're waiting for player E, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. If you use block initiative, hey, D-Priest, if you use block initiative, what you do is you allow people to go when they're ready. So E's actually going to go first, and then D's going to go when they're ready here. This is a terrible graphic, but, for for the sake of illustration. Also, why did I do all these little dots? They're going to be a pain to erase. So that's the benefit of block initiative, but the grace that you extend is like critical. You have to do this because otherwise you're going to have people be like, well, no, you burned me last time. You didn't let me apply my buff to D. Let's say, so E does go first because they're available and D is at work. They work the night shift or whatever it might be. So E goes first. And then D finally logs on and they go, oh, shoot, I would have buffed. And then you look at the math and you say, oh, wow, if D would have buffed E, that would have turned a miss, illustrated by this great shield, into a hit with a dagger. And so this is where you have to have this grace, because then a GM might be tempted to say, well, I can't let you buff because you saw the results before your turn came up. And so therefore you knew that your buff would turn this into a hit. And so that's not fair because it's not representing the actual, knowledge that you would have had at the time that you took that turn. And you just simply don't do those things. Welcome in, Logan. Adulting is important. We have to do that. So you extend grace for this because we get it. We can be hard asses about this and not have fun, or we can just understand that these things are going to happen, and you just let people go so that you get through the turn order, and then you go back and you just clean up anything you might need to clean up. It doesn't happen all that often, but every now and then it does. Another neat little bonus of play-by-post is, let's see if I can remember my keys here, is that it's very... I would say it's forgiving because there is a written record of everything. What is happening with my pen? I don't know if anybody can even read my terrible handwriting, but it helps me think to write it. So it's forgiving because there's a written record of everything. If you wanted to go back and untangle an ungodly amount of turns, you could do it. You could go back and figure out where the deviation happened and what it's going to be. Sometimes you find out that something went wrong, and you're like, you know what, it's too much to unpack. Let me just give you some other consolation. If it's Pathfinder 2, hey, we did screw that up. You should have killed that thing, and then it wouldn't have had this turn, and it wouldn't have hurt you, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's too much to go back and untangle, but here, let me give you an extra hero point. Or here, let me say... that the enemy runs away at this point. Whatever you might do to make that right. But because there's a written record of everything, you can pretty easily go back and figure out, what's happened and what's going on. So this is how the structured initiative actually works really, really, really well for play-by-post. Because if you have a bunch of people who are all on at the same time, you can rapidly rush through a huge number of turns. I ran a combat, what was it, just last week? And Logan was involved in that. And it was just a 2-player, little kind of side scene thing that I spontaneously threw together. But I started the encounter the day before. There was a little bit of role-playing with the NPCs, so on and so forth. And then when we got to the combat, both Logan and Jorelson were just online at the same time, and so was I. And we banged through 3-4 rounds in 2 hours, which is going to sound painfully slow. But that's actually really fast for play-by-post. So, a combat round might take a day in normal circumstances. Because, again, you're waiting for people to get off of work, you're waiting for them to be on their lunch break, you're waiting for this initiative to go through. It was intense. That was a good fight. I mean, it was an easy fight, roughly, but it made for some great roleplay moments. So, yeah, if a combat round is usually taking a day and you go through 3 to 4 in an hour, in let's say 2 hours, that's very fast. So, it can go really fast when people are available, but it's not the format for that. It's just when it happens, it's really exciting because everybody's like, yeah, let's go. So that's great. Now, this is going to be a topic, and I am just kind of wandering all over. I wish this was a more structured stream, but here, okay, take a break. Everybody take a break. All right, hold on. Listen up. Okay, let's talk. I mentioned this last Sunday, and I'm going to mention it again. I mentioned it 2 Sundays ago. Anyway, the pressure that I am putting on myself is so high. It is so high, guys. And I'm trying not to. I really am. But yeah, I am putting so much pressure on myself to do a good job at this, to add value and to make the time you spend with me worth it. Yeah, I have very high standards, and I think I'm doing all right. I'm not meeting, the level of production that I would like to be meeting. And so there's a little part of me that's like, well, you got a lot going on right now, and of course you don't have the time for this and that and everything. But that voice is very small and very quiet, and it does not reassure me nearly as often as I need it to. And so I keep like bouncing back and forth between, stall that. I don't know if you were trying to do the Monty Python scene with the sun. It's immediately what that made me think of. No, I wish it was as simple as just saying stop that, because I bounce back and forth between this, like, I want to give you guys what I'm actually capable of, which is so much. I am actually capable of so much. And then sometimes I get to that place where I'm like, well, I don't have the time or energy, so they get what they get, is the other side of the mentality. And when I was this is a stream, and this is a topic that I've wanted to do for a while, and it's something that I haven't tackled yet because I'm like, well, I'm not ready, I'm not prepared enough, it's not gonna be structured enough, it's not gonna be what it is. And you were thinking of that scene, nice. So part of the reason that I'm going back to the 1UP chat screen here is to force myself to address this and acknowledge it, because I am handling a lot right now, and the alternative is for me to just not do as much. So I can either give you what I have off the top and spend time with you guys, or I could say, well, I guess I'm going down to 1 stream a week then, and that doesn't feel like the right answer. So thank you for hanging in there and hanging around while I fumble through whatever I make. Because, yeah, the alternative right now is to just not do it. And I don't want to not do it. So, whatever. A year down the road, we can revisit these topics, and I can redo them in some sort of clean, pristine video format or whatever. But we're just spending time together. We're just chatting, and that's why when we come back over here and we zoom out, this is absolute scatterbrained nonsense all over the place, and you're not getting a nice tutorial on, like, how to run play-by-post and what's great about it. We're going to get to a lot of good stuff, but we're just going to get there how we get there. Okay? I know you guys know that. I'm saying this for my own benefit, because I still have the fears that, like, it's all going to disappear someday. And if it does, that's all right, too. We had a good time together. Thanks, Logan. I'm not going to read that out loud, though. Appreciate it. I'm going to blush, though. So, increment the blush clock. Why not? Let's make a blush clock. It's an 8-segment clock. There you go. See, now we're having fun. Okay, now we're relaxed. Speed is a main concern for people who don't understand or see the appeal of play-by-post, because when you're used to doing a whole session in 4 hours, and you get through multiple combats and multiple NPC scenes and everything like that, then this must seem painfully slow. But I have some tricks for that. I have some really neat tricks, and there's some benefits that we're going to get to. That's the great thing about conversations and sharing ideas. You can also come back to them again. Yes, I can. I can do whatever I want, actually. I have all the buttons to push, and I can just, boom, there's me. I can do it whenever I want. Whether anybody is around for it is a different story. So live play, is fast, all things considered. It's, structured by calendar. PvP is slow. It is much slower, and I'm not going to pretend like it's not slower. We have in New Dawn missions. The notes are all over the place. It's just what it is. We have missions, and a mission is, not this tightly defined thing, but basically it's when a GM steps up and says, hey, I've got a chunk of content that I want to provide. It's at this level range if anybody's interested. Or you might have something emerge from the narrative where it's like, okay, well, this needs to happen. This character needs to be involved, so it's going to be at this level. These 3 characters are clearly involved. There's maybe 1 to 2 more slots, and you fill it up. But missions are, loosely, they're going to have like 1 to 3-ish encounters in them. And I would say on average, a mission takes between 2 to 4 weeks to fully resolve in real time. Oh, I was going to define some terms here. We're going to use RT for real time and GT for game time, because that's going to come up as a topic. Yeah, this is funny. So D Priest, you like the point about having a written record that can be referenced. It's like everyone involved is a time witch wizard. Well, and I've gone back for certain scenes and characters and moments from stories, and I have pulled the text out of Discord and I have formatted it into like a formal document. This is when I had a lot more time on my hands to preserve those stories, because the quality and the passion that play-by-post players bring is so high that it's like why do I need to read books anymore? Let's just read play-by-post posts. This is another good point. Yeah. With PvP, you can literally be playing all the time. Yeah, and the speed versus the amount you get to play. And here's the other thing. Here's where I'm getting to with the speed thing, because it's slow. It is slow, and sometimes you pair up with a fast or highly available player. So you might have fast pairings, and you might have like a scene that has like 10 to 12 back and forth posts for this like really intense scene, and we've detailed some of these in the past in other streams, and that might take an afternoon, and then you get a whole like thing done. But then sometimes it's like, hey, I've got to go to bed, I'll pick this up in the morning, and you're like, great, cool. And then they pick it up in the morning, but you're at work, and then you get to it like 6 hours later, and so the pace is very fluid, right? That does require you to kind of, this is interesting. Does it or does it not? I think so. I think it requires you to be very in touch with the character, because you need to be able to go into their headspace at any given moment in time. It's not like potentially, if you are in a live play session and here's a 4-hour session and you have like your little ramp up time where you're like rediscovering the voice of the character and then you get into it. Whereas play by post, it's like this. I would make this wider if I could. And at any moment in time, you might be like called on to like use that character voice. So in a way, it kind of, I don't know if it encourages or if it just rewards the ability to like jump into that character voice at any moment in time. This was not in my notes as a concept to talk about, but it's interesting. And I'm going to remove it all now because it's in the way. Delete, 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 delete. Okay. So yeah, these missions that would be like a mission would be, I would say, one session of a live play game, more or less. Oh, here comes chat. Playing all the time is actually one of the things that keep me from playing play-by-post. It has the incentive to keep you constantly active to a sense in my eyes as someone that has limited experience. It can. I mean, you got to manage your time. You got to be responsible. So much monopolizing of my brain. I tell you what, there's a reason that I say that New Dawn is my favorite media franchise of all time. Like, I'm just thinking about those characters in those moments all the time. I'm not ingesting other TV shows or other movies, really. I'm just living the life. This is absolutely a struggle that we'll talk about. I hope, if I remember. People who struggle getting motivated spontaneously could struggle too. I'll talk about that, and I'm not going to throw any people under the bus or anything like that, but I did have players who started into a play-by-post game, and they fell out because it just didn't work for them. And I learned a lot about the types of players that this format works for, and maybe those that it doesn't as much. So You do need to be able to silo those parts away and prioritize other things. I could see that being a problem for folks, yeah. Much easier if you hit an active time with a scene partner. Yup. Yep. Cool. This was where I was writing just briefly about the async versus sync. Synchronized play-by-post is kind of an oddity, because this is where you are you actually schedule time. So you might say from noon to 4 on Sundays, like, we have sessions. And you just use play-by-post as the medium for your sessions. You don't use voice chat. You don't use VTTs. You just use Discord. And this could be a really good tool. I haven't had to use this, but this could be a really good tool for people with social anxiety. People who are not comfortable with voice. So voice concerns. But they also want kind of that structure of a live play session. So I've never done this. I've never seen this. I have simulated it because of these times that naturally, like, people are on at the same time. I don't know where I wrote that. So I've kind of experienced it in the sense that, like, the 4 people who are involved in this are all online at the same time, and we're all just blasting through it. But async is the bread and butter of what I've experienced, and it has just so many little nuances and things to think about. So yeah, the speed is slow, but here's the thing. This is the multiplier effect. This makes me so excited. What am I writing? Multiplayer? I want to write multiplier. Multiplier. Y'all should try writing live on a stream sometime. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. This is the multiplier effect. Okay, how do I even start to describe this? I talked about this briefly before, but you can interlace multiple games. You could be in New Dawn PF2 and playing or running Girl by Moonlight at the same time. The exact same time. Legend in the Mist, if you're so inclined. Now, if you're really busy and you have to pick up a second job, sometimes you have to tell everybody, you know what, let's just pause this for a moment. I'm sorry. Legend in the Mist is on pause. We'll get to it, though, once I finish my missions. These are all running concurrently. So across, let's say, if you're doing this many things, or realistically, I'll tell you what it's more like. Then there's New Dawn in general, and then you're in a New Dawn mission, and then you're running a New Dawn event, and then you're going back and you're running a New Dawn scene that happened 3 months ago in game time, and those are all happening at the same time. So maybe activity fires off, less frequently on some of these, but you have like 7 things going at the same time, so you don't really feel like you're sitting around waiting. Does not feel like waiting if you are very active. And it does have an addictive quality. If you like play-by-post, you will find yourself overcommitting, and learning to not overcommit in play-by-post is an important skill. Very important skill. I think at one time I was running a Girl by Moonlight campaign. I probably had a mission going in New Dawn. I was running the monthly events in New Dawn, and I had NPCs running all over the place. I always used to try to be like the welcoming wagon for new players, and I'm like, what PCs do I have in the stable to throw at you? I'll run scenes with you. And a lot of that for me was low overhead, because if I can find a character voice, I don't have to plan anything or prep anything. It's just them having a conversation. And then I'm like, every now and then I'm like, what should I add in here to be of interest, or where should I steer them, or whatever. Those things come very naturally to me. Which I should be more grateful for, because not everybody feels the same way. But it's my strength zone in GMing anything, frankly. It's just like, give me a character and a loose concept of who they are, and I will just run it. It's all good. So let me catch up with chat. Yeah, active time blocks. This might work for some groups. It might be the thing to do. We literally don't do it in New Dawn. We just don't bother. Yeah. This is another huge endeavor, or advantage, sorry. yes, the ability to stop and think. Let's talk about that. Stop and think. This is a benefit for some, and for others, it is, what's a good word for the opposite of benefit? I don't know, a curse. One of my players who fell out of a game got so much, I wouldn't even call it analysis paralysis, but it was like quality paralysis. They were so concerned about how their writing would come off. And so they would resolve, like, I'm going to update this scene by the end of tonight. And you're like, okay, well, that's 12 hours from now. So yeah, the odds of them updating the scene are actually pretty good. And then tonight would come and go. And then the next morning they'd be like, really sorry. I tried and I wasn't feeling it. They just couldn't get, and it was their own, because I had conversations. I was like, is there anything I can do to help? Whatever. And they were like, no, I just, like, I'm too fixated on making it good. And I'm like, oh, don't do that. Because the trick is, and this is another conversation that I've had with people that I think is very fascinating, is when we were running New Dawn, or in the early days, and we were still, open to new players. We're always open to new players, but like, it's pretty busy right now. So we're not like actively recruiting, right? It is a mega game. So there's time and space for everybody, but I'd get into so many conversations, and this is part of why I think this stream might be valuable to some people. How does it work? And I have written so many times in chats to say, okay, imagine that you're in a live play session and you say something at the table. It could be out of character. It could be in character. Now just imagine that instead of saying it, you typed it. And I don't mean to be too horribly reductive, but like honestly, that is literally all it takes to play by post, is just take what you would say at a table and type it into a chat instead. Because New Dawn is a beast of a game. There's a lot going on, and you can interact with it as much or as little as you want, but it is not a linear, straightforward game. I have run linear, straightforward games. Offworlders was one. Girl by Moonlight was one. Two, technically. And so those are a little simpler to understand, and maybe that's the way to get started, is maybe not jumping straight into New Dawn or a game like it where it's, weaving timelines and somebody's managing the calendar because they're obsessive about when the scenes happen. It's me. But how does it work? It's like, it's the same. It's the same in all of the ways that you might need to think of or approach it as a player. It's the same as live play. And I don't, like, then I want to dig in and I'd be like, but like, tell me why you're asking the question, because there must be something behind you asking that question. And if I know what that is, I can help you figure out what the hurdle is itself. So, but yeah, this benefit of being able to stop and think and formulate a response is really strong benefit for some people, because they can feel like, they can consider how their character might think or react to that. And they can kind of bounce ideas off of themselves, and they can actually have conversations in out-of-character chat about it. And the other thing about this, where do I want to put this? Gosh, there's so much to discuss. All of this stuff that's happening is not taking away time from the table. Again, like, if this is live play, this is the time we've blocked out, and we're all adults with busy lives. And when you do anything in here, you are literally taking that time out from everybody else. If you're having a side scene with another character, if you're having a rules confusion with a GM, if you're doing anything like that, play by post is not like that, because it's more like there are gates. So if you get up to here and you have a rules question, like, okay, it might take some time to resolve, so now you're here. And maybe somebody was available over this window, but now they're not available here. And so you lose a little bit of time, but then they're available again here. So this is the time you like lost, but you're losing it out of a 24/7 week-long experience. And it's not a big deal. And if this player is so really burned out about that, they're either going to fall out of play-by-post or they're going to start doing this. And they're going to say, I want to play more. Well, get involved with multiple things at the same time, multiple characters at different levels, if you have a mega game. Go flashback. This is another huge topic. Do a flashback scene. Go write some solo journaling with your character. This is a great illustration of this. Solo journaling with a character. If you're in live play, how do you do that? Here, everybody just stop for a second. Everybody stop. I'm gonna like monologue. I got to get this monologue out. It's gonna give some context and some fleshing into the backstory of my character. And so everybody else stop while I do this thing. Nobody would do that. They'd get kicked from the table. If you're in play-by-post and this is happening simultaneously, it's just like this like simultaneous thing that's happening while like mainline play is going on and you're down here doing your little journal. You are building up the world. People can opt in to read this if they want to or not. And it's kind of for you, but it helps you build out the character and you're kind of role-playing. And it doesn't take away from anybody's time because we all have the entire breadth of time to play this game. And when you have a game that's been going for coming up on 4 years, it's this built-in sense of like, oh, it's okay. We're going to get there. Like, it's all going to happen. It's all going to be all right. And I'm not really going to get all twisted up over the fact that I was available, you didn't post, so now I have to go to work. And I have to wait until after work to post again because you took too long. Like, nobody's getting mad about that, I promise you. Oh, man. It's so good. So good. Okay. All right, chat. How are you guys doing? Isn't New Dawn out of character its own endeavor too? I don't know. I don't think so. Not everybody reads it all anyway. I just realized that I think I can struggle more with multiple character voices in text writing than in voice, but I may just need more practice. Interesting. I love being able to take the time to think about what I want to write and then get to actually practice some writing. Okay, so yeah, we're back here. We're back at the stop and think, benefit. That was a terrible star. I know my stars don't have to look good, but like, there we go. It is really nice to be able to take the time to think, and there's a little part of me that gets like an absolute thrill out of replying in characters so goddamn fast that literally the timestamps in Discord sometimes are the same minute of me replying, and it's like this like super powerful moment or really good moment of dialogue. I'm not gonna lie, I like being able to flex that a little bit sometimes when I'm just like, bam, character reaction, heavy hitting dialogue, and I had it right from the top. So that's an adrenaline rush and ego boost and serotonin for me. But yeah, I have the time. I have the time to think if I want to, but I don't always take it. Sometimes I like the challenge. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you. I did want to talk about that in the paralysis thing. So we said that it's great, that there's this there's this permanent record, this written record of everything here. And I do think that might be the source of anxiety for some people. Like, oh my gosh, people are going to always and forever know how I did this line of dialogue or what I said. And in live play, let me draw yet another little graphic. Could you imagine if we didn't have this tablet today? In live play, like, all of those scenes are just like tears in the rain. You're going to remember the standout moments and the good moments. They're going to like fire off and get launched into your brain. But everything in between, it kind of becomes a soup. I'll tell you what. In play-by-post, there is a record there, but I don't know how many people go back and reread scenes. I know Hippo does, and I know I do. Every now and then, I'm like, hey, I remember this scene. I should go back and reread that. And yeah, so there are moments that like fire off and they get remembered by your brain. And yes, there is a record here if you want to go back and look at these things. And that could be the source of some anxiety for some people, which is a shame because I don't think that, I don't want people to be worried about it, but I understand why they are. There could be all manner of reasons why they're concerned about it, going all the way into the good old therapy of like, how were you treated in your childhood? Like, what teacher really fucked you up in elementary school? You know, it could be all the way back to that sort of thing. Or, you know, any number of causes. And so, you know, you want to be sensitive to those and respectful of them. I want to create, when I'm GMing or when I'm being involved in a play-by-post game, an environment where people feel safe to just get it out there. And so it's something I'm mindful of. I do try, I will say this, here's another thing. I put this in my notes for today, is that these moments, these like hot moments that shoot off, I also make a concentrated effort to shout those out in out of character, to give that feedback. Because if you're at a live play table, you know, you're going to see people react. Like the great example from our fiasco game, when I did that one line, Logan, my character and Kalana's character were having this whole, it was a flashback scene to like when it all went wrong between these two characters. And I had my character just be like, wow, I never thought you'd be so ungrateful. And like, I had Logan on camera and he was just like, so I got that immediate feedback of like, yes, that hit. That was an emotional hit. And like, that was a moment. You don't get that in play-by-post. And so I do make a concentrated effort to like call that out and be like, this line was so good, like, and really shout everybody out, because I think it's fun and cool. And I want people to know that their contributions are valuable and important. So yeah, just the getting in, staying fresh in the act of writing is another great benefit, and reading, staying active in like reading and writing. One thing that is important for PvP, you have to be willing to read and follow along. This is difficult for some. Yes. Okay. So, in many ways. So again with New Dawn. New Dawn has like 10 things going on at the same time. And there are people who read everything. And you don't have to read everything. There are people who are just, they're crunched for time, and they say, I only read the stuff that my character's involved in. That's this one and this one. And so sometimes they get a different sort of joy about not knowing what's going on in other scenes if they come up. Like something that developed here is now affecting over here, but they didn't read about it, and so they're finding out this way, and that's kind of like this like, oh, wow, like they get to actually live through not knowing it, if you're into that. Sometimes I will say, okay, so Girl by Moonlight is a game that is all about characters' emotions and their feelings and everything like that. And so even though it was one group, we would still break out different posts for like, this is one character's flashback, or this is where one character does their obligation scenes, and this is where another character does their obligation scenes, and then this is the main episode post, right? So I'm making a point, whatever. I'm getting it down on the page so I can make a point. If you're doing play-by-post, and this is a mission you're in, you need to read the whole thing. You need to know what's going on. And yeah, that is hard sometimes, because sometimes you have one of those like off to the races moments where there's like, boom, 200 posts happen here. And you're like, damn, I was at work. And now like it's waiting on my turn. I got to like read through this to know what's happening so I can actually contribute. And that can be a challenge. And if you can't do this, it can be tough. And my instinct would be to say, take your time and read it and post about it like later on in real time. But there's a challenge if you have the, like I mentioned, the 24-hour rule. Let me go back and find that. Hold on. Oh, wow. This is so funny to me. We've drifted so far to the left, we've created a whole new section. So when I was talking about initiatives here, and I mentioned this 24-hour rule, if player B here cannot get to this within 24 hours, do you know what happens? This is what I do. If I'm ready to do C's turn and they haven't gone yet, this is what I will do. If I'm not ready, then guess what? You got some bonus hours. Good for you. You ended up with a 30-hour rule because I couldn't get to this anyway. So I'm not ready to move on. If this player can't do that, Here's the worst that could happen. This is the worst that could happen. I go, okay, you delay. You delay into the next group. C's going to take their turn, and now all 3 of you are going to get pinged at once, and all 3 of you are going to have 24 hours, basically. So there. That's the worst that could happen. No big deal. What is a challenge for the player here, where you might want to extend them the grace and just be like, hey, take your time, it's okay, is that if there are multiple windows of 24 hours that go by with nothing from them, then it's a question of like, hey, okay, let's take a moment. Are you okay with not being highly active in this scene? If you are, then everything's fine. But if you are not okay with that, like, we're not going to wait around for you. So I'm going to ask you to either, drop out of the scene or find a way to be okay with not being very active, because there can come a time where you are actually holding things up. Multiple days go by and a scene hasn't progressed. As much as I say, it's nice to be able to jump in at different points, there does come a time where you're like, wow, what happened in this scene that I haven't seen a post in from like 5 days ago? Let me refresh myself. So there, sometimes you have to manage that a little bit. But what I was going to say to make this point is, in a game like Girl by Moonlight, where at the table, Girl by Moonlight says you need to give voice to your character's inner voice as you are playing to everybody else. They are supposed to know the inner workings of your character. You're supposed to tell them. If somebody is not following something, even if it's not their character's post, that actually becomes a problem. So you do need to, in some games, and this is all session 0 stuff, be like, hey, this is a game where I expect you to read everything, everybody's stuff. You need to know. Because the game is predicated on you knowing and actively playing into the push and pull, the writer's room aspect that comes with Powered by the Apocalypse Forged in the Dark games. So sometimes there are different expectations. It's different by group, it's different by table, it's different by system, right? So you gotta kind of work your way around that. I'm so far behind on chat. I love it. Type it with my keyboard. You can do voice to chat if you want, Clobster. Taking up space. Oh, this is a good. Oh, man, jeez, so much to catch up on. Taking up space is something I can struggle with in live plays, and PvP is so much easier there. Yeah, because when you are, did I draw this somewhere? Yeah, when you're doing this, and you've got your little solo journaling thing off to the side, and you're like, you know what? I'm not stepping on anybody's toes here. I'm just doing my thing. And then the people who have time to engage with it, they will engage with it, and they will be like, that was fucking awesome, And you're not fighting for time. You're not fighting for attention. It's very good. But yeah, this all spun out of how do you address the speed issue when people are like, oh, PvP is so slow. It's like, it's slow, but you can do 10 of them at a time and you will not feel like you're not actively role-playing all the time. Here's another thing, run NPCs. If you have a big game or even not a big game, you want to be more active, you could even, if it's a game with a single GM who has full narrative authority, be like, hey, I would love to play an NPC character in some scenes. Do you have any ideas? And they'd be like, yeah, here, run this shopkeeper or whatever. And you can do that. If it's a shared world game, then just go for it. Don't even ask. Just start making NPCs and then running scenes with people. So you can stay as active as you want if you have, active people to bounce off of. And if you don't, you can do some little solo journaling things. So yeah, that's cool. Now where have we gotten to? Yeah, the multiplier effect is huge. Times 10. So good. All right. I'm very extroverted and it's very easy for me to talk and go. I have to limit myself in live games because I don't want to boggart the whole thing. I'm processing this. I don't know that I've seen you as an extrovert, Logan. So I'm processing that. I think what you have is a degree of self-confidence, so that you don't need to censor yourself as much as somebody who doesn't have self-confidence. That's how I read you. Anyway, it's definitely a challenge in live play. Great steward presidential issues. This was 12 minutes ago, so I have no idea what that was about. I wonder if there's a difference in demographic of media consumption. PvP read more books /text. I have no idea. That would be interesting as a survey. Because I wouldn't say that was true of me. I was a reader, when I was younger, and as demands for my time escalated, I just stopped reading. So I would say most of my media consumption was visual medium. Although, honestly, a lot of it was just like, hey, there's a thing on in the background that other people are watching, and I'm busy doing, chores or whatever. So I kind of absorbed media that way. I rarely actually got to sit down and, watch something. I've seen shifts in people who write, movies/TV rather than books/print in what they focus on, like sensory inputs being just visual versus inclusive. This is very fascinating. I'm going to need you to travel through time and go make that comment back in, let's see, which stream would that have been great in? Maybe the immersion stream or the emergence stream. Because I would happily rant about this for half an hour. It's so fast. I talked about this. It's one of those streams. I talked about this, about how my strength in GMing is in running NPCs. Point blank. I'm not great at combats. I'm not great at investigations. I'm not great at any of this stuff. I'm not good at handing out loot. I try to hand out loot and people go, this isn't what I wanted, and they sell it anyway. And I say, what the fuck was that for? Why am I bothering? Okay. I have some chips on my shoulder. Okay. My strength is in voicing NPCs and characters. It's my bread and butter. And so I definitely said this in one of these streams because then Logan disagreed with me. I was like, I'm not good at description. I'm not good at slowing down enough to talk about the details of the curtains waving and the whatever. Because I'm I don't care. I want to know what they say. I want to know who they are. I want to know what they say invokes in you, and I want to play off of what you say, and I want to tease things out thematically about who the characters are. It's about the people for me. And so I'm atrocious at doing detail. Maybe because I don't feel like I'm going to get a return from it. If I was writing a book, I would. But when I'm doing scene work, it's just kind of more like, I don't know, it just feels more like improv, like two people standing in a room and imagining the environment around them, but you can't actually see it. It's almost how I interact with it in play-by-post. Anyway, all those scenes are just like tears in the rain. Yep. The ancient Greeks had big thoughts on the essence of spoken versus written words, so there are definitely differences in how we conceptualize them. That sounds fascinating. Let's talk about that sometime. It sounds awesome. Oh, thank you. It's very intentional. It's intentional and it's not. I'm genuinely hyper excited when people write cool shit. But there is absolutely intention behind, I want people to know that their stuff is appreciated. I want them to know when they make me cry. Guys, when I say in play-by-post, oh my God, this scene made me cry, I am never pulling your leg. I'm literally oh my God. Like that one, man, when you wrote that final scene for that guy that Thane killed, this was my reaction. This was my reaction when I read that. I'm sitting here on the computer, I'm reading it, and I went, oh my God. Oh my God. That was how I actually reacted, Logan. And I started crying. Oh, should we diagram sentences? I love diagramming sentences. Yeah, ungrateful. That was a good scene. 5th grade? You guys were diagramming sentences in 5th grade? We didn't diagram till 9th grade. That's wild. 5th grade? No way. No way. Ah, yes. A fellow reader of everything. Yeah, okay. I'm catching up. I'm 10 minutes behind, but I'm catching up. Right. Did you must have said this right when I was saying it. Yeah. There just are certain games where it's really important to know what's going on with people. So I know. I knew you would have this reaction too. But there's actually something there. Maybe if self-confidence isn't the word, there's a degree of self-assurance or what is it? I am who I am, fuck you. Maybe something of that too. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. No, sometimes, oh my God, when scenes like that hit, that was the most visceral reaction I've had to a post in play-by-post in quite a while. Of course, I'm always giggling and squeeing over all the romance posts too. That's a different type of reaction. Yeah, so that's probably what it is. masquerading as self-confidence. All right, what dangling threads have we left unresolved here? Oh, we haven't talked about time yet. So we're going to talk about time. What else have we got? I got an hour left to fill. I do these for 2 hours. There's so much more to say. Oh, we got to add GBM up here. So these are the games I have run in Play by Post. I have also played in, this is actually a good pivot, I have actually played Fabula Ultima in Play by Post. It did not work well, and we're going to talk about why. I almost started a game of Fate, and then I petered out. That didn't happen. What else? Have I run anything else Play by Post? Oh yeah. We did Fight with Spirit. That was right before the exile. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Have I run anything else though? You know what's funny about this too? So I was playing in New Dawn, Pathfinder 2. I started running Offworlders because I wanted to give back to the community that I was in. I didn't have money to like tip. I didn't have money to up my Patreon level in this group. So I was like, well, what can I do? I'll try and give back by like, I want to learn some PBTA. Maybe some other people want to play some PBTA. I'm going to create a game for it. And I actually drew in, players who weren't involved with the Pathfinder 2 Play by Post, because that was the thing too, is I was like, sometimes people just can't play live games, and that was me. And so then it's like, I looked at like what was on offer in the server, because at that point, I think by that point already I was moderating that whole segment, and so I felt this responsibility. I was like, what's on offer here? And the answer was Pathfinder 2, slice of life, like immersive role play like thing. Not everybody loved Pathfinder 2. Not everybody likes all that other stuff either. So I was like, let me try something different. So I did. It was great. When it came to Girl by Moonlight, nobody else was going to run it. Somebody had to do it. And so I did. And changed my life. Changed my life in so many important ways. So not just the game itself, but the people that I was able to connect with through that. So what went wrong with Fabula Ultima? If you know Fabula Ultima, you might already be able to guess. It relates to this topic, initiative. Fabula has what I call war rooming initiative, where it's players first, because they changed it. So it's a player, and then it's an enemy, and then you repeat. But what player it is decided each time in that moment until the 4 players are exhausted, and then you go through it again, which means you could go first in one round, and then you could go fourth in the next round. And so there will be, what would that be? 1, 2, 3. So there's 6 other player turns in between yours and theirs, because strategically it makes sense for you to wait. Or you could go fourth and then go first. And so there is no turn in between yours, because you're going to do some sort of self-buff and then you're going to go off. So this is a war rooming style of initiative, where the group is having a conversation every other action. Right, because the GM, they control all the enemies, so they just decide what enemy they want to have pop off. But the group has to have a conversation every single one of these until the 4th one, because it's like you're the last one left. Now, why is that a problem for Play by Post? Do you guys know? Have you figured it out? Player A and B are available now. Player C is not available till here. But player A is not. A and B are like, it makes sense for A to go first, but we're waiting. We're waiting to get confirmation from C that A can go. And then C says, yeah, it makes sense for A to go first. Well, now A's not available. So now we're down here. We've gone all this way, and all we've managed to do is decide who goes next. And then they take their turn. And then the enemy goes. And then C is available. And C says, I think I should go next. But B's not available. B's available over here. And they say, actually, I think I should go next because I'm going to do this ability. And then C jumps in and they go, yeah, I guess I could see that. Well, if you do that, then I'll change my action and I'll do this. And then B finally goes and they take their turn. So we spent all this time to decide who goes next. And nothing actually happened until here. And then the enemy goes. So this style of initiative is horrendous for play-by-post. There are ways around it. They are not elegant. The way around this for Fabula Ultima is you roll for initiative, like a trad initiative system, and you just play through it. And then you do delays. If you're like, it doesn't make sense for me to go right now, you delay. But now you have this similar issue where sometimes you're waiting for somebody to get there, and then they think about it, and they go, I'll delay. And now somebody else has to step in. Or then you say, well, it doesn't make sense for me to go next, so I'll also delay. So that's not great. A better way to do it for Fabula Ultima in my book is you guys know this chart? Do you know this chart? This is the chart. This is a difficulty chart. As difficulty goes up, the viability of available options goes down. And so, similarly, if you change this green line to not be the amount of available options in a game, but you change it to represent like how critical it is that you make the right move, when you reduce the difficulty, you get more forgiving, and then you make it more okay for like suboptimal play to occur. Okay? So in Fabula Ultima, you're going to go, this is what you're going to do, gang. You're going to go with a set initiative. Let's see the hearts for the chart. We love the chart. You're going to set initiative, and then you're going to go easy on them. Okay? Now, you're not going to get the full Fabula experience, but there are elements of Fabula and war rooming initiative style games that are just not very compatible with play-by-post. It just is the way it is. There are hundreds of other games. Play those games in play-by-post, or make some concessions, for God's sake. Tap the chart. Just make it work. You have to, if you take away the power inherent in letting them decide who goes and when and strategize, if you take away the power from that side, you have to balance the scales in some other way. Is this how scales work? There's a thing there, right? Anyway, yeah, you got to balance the scales. If you take away their power, you also have to take away your power as the GM. And this difficulty is the easiest thing you can take away from. Lower the difficulty so people can enjoy your shit. Okay, we love the chart. The chart is the single best thing I've ever contributed to RPG discourse in the world. Look at this beautiful drawing today. New Dawn is prime tap the chart area. It's like, listen. Oh, cool. I just addressed some of this. Very interested in what system game features work well for PvP and which don't. So yeah, we just hit on that. Hugely, initiative can be a problem in some of these games. Spotlight style initiative systems will fail without an active GM who's not actively on top of it. Because I'll be honest, I've seen this happen too. It's not like every play-by-post game is run by me or has me as a player. There have been, a dozen other play-by-post games on Knights of Last Call and elsewhere, and in the world. And I've seen people struggle when there's not enough activity and they just kind of fizzle out. They're like, I'm not being engaged enough to stick with this, and I can't really trust that this pace is going to like pick up. So yeah, I'm just going to fall out. So you're going to naturally gravitate towards really active groups. If you're a really active player, it's going to naturally work itself out that way. One thing I did, let's talk about the Explorers for a second. Explorers was an interesting exploration. So we had this. This is when I was talking about when I started to run Offworlders. When Offworlders ended, I actually, before I ran Girl by Moonlight, I pulled off here, and I again looked at the breadth of opportunity that there was in Play by Post on the Knights of Last Call Discord. And I said, what's missing? And by this point, New Dawn had been going for 7-8 months at this point. And it was already too much for some people. It was already too much lore, too many characters, too much going on. It was too much. And there was too much romance, and there was too much, and they're like, and I realized what's missing is like bog standard PF2. There was no way for anybody to just play PF2 in Play by Post. And so I invented this little thing called the Explorers. The Explorers was a spin-off of New Dawn. It used the same characters. It brought in a team of new players who didn't need to know anything. Hanlon, who is my character and was the ruler of New Dawn at the time, assembled this team to basically like go out. We were using Kingmaker hex rules at the time. Their mission was basically to go out and like claim hexes and just have a linear, and this was the key. It was a linear adventure. And this isn't necessarily related, but I said, hey, if I'm going to pick up this entire extra campaign, basically we're just going to run raw. Like just raw rules. Like I don't want to consider any, I don't want to deal with it. Just play by the book, straight down the middle, and we will have a straightforward linear campaign. And it was still sandboxy to a degree. Although I did kind of, it wasn't that sandboxy, I'll be honest. I kind of led them around to certain things. It was sandboxy in the sense that it wasn't prepared. It wasn't like an adventure path. It was just kind of like, I was like, oh, what do I think they'll do next? And then as NPCs kind of got woven into the story. So it constantly tied back to New Dawn in different ways, but it was its own group with its own level progression. They were all together at the same time. It was the same group of 5 characters straight through. No characters going off to do this, that, the other thing. They were just straight down the middle. And so that worked really well. Why did I bring that up? I have no idea. Anyway, it was something I did to offer a different experience because we had, and it was still tied into the mega game, but it kind of wasn't at the same time. And a lot of those characters are still around. It's pretty cool. It's very pretty cool. All right. Oh, yeah. That's funny. That's not even the one I was thinking of. I was thinking of other games that other GMs have run that they weren't able to keep up the pace for the players. But yeah, that was a really, 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 really exciting and fun game too. What's the word I want to use? Evocative, imaginative. Like I could see like the themes you were working into the descriptions of things, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. That is one that I don't know if I grabbed the whole. I don't think I did yet. Grab the entire text of that game and put it into a document. I did grab all of the scenes that involved my character because I want to. My totally not trans character stand-in. Size and consistency of player group seems to be important for PvP. There it is and it's not. There is a what do you want to call it? There is a critical mass. Is that the phrase? There is a certain amount of activity you need to keep a game alive. New Dawn right now has, I don't know, 15-ish active players currently at different activity levels. I would say probably, 6-ish of them, myself included, are highly active. And if that core nugget drops below a certain level, then it is hard to keep going. Which there was a hiatus for a while with the game because there were just enough of those highly active players who weren't able to give it the attention needed, or they were in exile, that they took a pause. But we're back. We're so back. There's never too much romance. Oh, look, there you go. You need a critical mass for activity and energy return, and need to make sure people don't drop off, fade out. And you might find yourself with a PvP group where they're like chill and they're just like, yeah, I just get to it when I get to it, and it's no big deal, and it just gradually unfolds. It's interesting. That was true. Yeah, didn't we go into the first mission and like someone hadn't? The first mission someone hadn't even used all of their actions. Yeah. Was that I forget what that was. Yes, Rune Cairn. Gosh, I just need to read ahead. Yeah. So as long as you have the activity that you need, or that you expect, or that you communicate as a group, then you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Let's talk about time. Ooh, I love this topic so much. Ironically, I bring this up every single time that Derek talks about time tracking in BXD&D, and he always draws his little diagrams, and then I'm like, this is exactly what we do in New Dawn, thinking it'll provoke some interesting discussion, and it never does. It never does. I'm like, fine, I'll do it myself. So here we are. Oh man, how do I even describe this? Do I draw the scene tracker? Or do I go grab a screenshot of it? Can you paste images into... I wonder if you can. I think... Actually, I know you can, because I saw Thaddeus do it the other day. Okay, bear with me 1 second. How do I want to do this? If I come over here... Here... So this time tracking topic that I'm going to talk about is one of the tools that you have if you want to break out of linear time, let's say, so that you can be in 10 places at once. I want to find a good month for this. Not that there's a bad one, but just one that really illustrates how it works. Let's do this one. Okay, let's give this a shot. Okay, sweet. All right, give me a second. This is a snippet of how I track time in New Dawn. And when I say this is how I track time, it's because I built this tool in the first place. Other people maintain it here and there over the course of time. But this was me. This was all me. So this is Kuthona of 4724. And I have a pinned row that tells you what day of the month it is. But then you have the days throughout, and then you have the scenes as they go in ascending through the timeline, and then it wraps back to the next month, and it proceeds on. And so at any time, you can look at a scene, and you can come over here, and this, I actually link the post in Discord to where that scene is happening. So you can click right here from the sheet, and it'll take you there. When the scene goes on, and there's no example of this here, but here we go. If a scene takes place over multiple days, every time the day changes in the world, I put a new entry into it. Red is for missions. This lavender is for events. These are different categories of things we have going on. I do a lighter shade when there's travel involved, or there's space in between, but it's still kind of the same scene. And so this is how I track time in New Dawn, and I live and die by this thing, because when I'm putting a scene together, how do I explain this? We also do this thing called one-to-one time, which is something you can do in Play by Post that's really cool. Because Play by Post unfolds slower, hold on. I call this one-to-one time, where real time and game time flow at the same rate. How the hell does that work? What it means is that the actual in-world calendar is the date of what I call now. And this is a little funky with New Dawn right now. If you're new to New Dawn, some of you guys are new and came in after the hiatus. We are currently trying to iron out some of the time discrepancy, because the way things lined up, we are actually on track to be caught up to real time. I know this doesn't make any sense. We're on track to be caught up probably by the we probably won't catch up in the end of May because people are still pushing scenes out further in the future. But we do have some missions slowing things down right now. So maybe I'll just pull up actually this month as a screenshot. Oh God, what a behemoth. This is how you know. This is how you know that the hiatus is over. Holy Lord. And this is honestly the reason I do this. It's for me. And I'm like, hey, if this is of value to anybody else, good for you. I need this. I need this, and I will track it, and I will get all the links, and I will do it. I don't care. I need this. This is the current month in New Dawn, which is actually, Desness is May. So this is what I mean. We're actually about a month ahead of time because we basically lost a year in the in-game world. So the year is still 4725 instead of 4726. We're a year behind real time, our time, April 2026. I know this is wild. So this large stack of posts and everything is this really critical in-world event that was happening. And it's also the time that I was able to come back to New Dawn and play. So since I've been back, with one, just one of my characters is back, we have progressed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The furthest out that we've gotten from the date in game that my character returned to now is 15 days in game time, and that's been over 2.5 months of in-world time. So you can see that the game time is happening a lot slower and much more concentrated because we've had events in there. We have 3 missions going on right now, and we have had another event that is ongoing, all like within short time period. And then once we catch up to May 29th or whatever this date actually corresponds to, like I said, the sheet has the date pinned to the top, so when you scroll up and down, the dates are always lined up. Then we'll catch up, and then we'll be in 1-to-1 time. And so then how do you work 1-to-1 time is that the thing that moves is the now line. The now line is basically like if you're starting a new scene, and you're not particular as to when it happens, then it happens now, which is today, which would be, in our case, we are out of sync right now, but what is today? The 26th of April. So it would be the 26th of Gozran, I think is April. And so then you would pin it to that date. And then that scene might take a week of our real time to play out, but that scene might only last an hour in game time. So then now let's say we want to start a new scene. Well, it's a week later in real time. So it's a week later in game time as well. You want to try and hold to now because then anything new that starts. And then what you have is you have a week of game time in between. I really need to figure out how to illustrate this. Okay, so we're going to say scene is happening here. Real time is advancing. And in game time, it takes like this long. Oh, thank you. Ooh, somebody's complimenting my... Ooh. Get to the blush clock. Where is it? Let's fill in the segment of the blush clock. You want to compliment my spreadsheets. I will not stop you. I should pull it up and scroll through the whole thing. It's wild. Also, something I did in my exile is I went back in time and I put all of the scenes into this tracker. Even the ones from before this was a thing. I put them all in there. So this is scene 1. Blush provoked, yeah. And this is scene 2. I think this is a good way to illustrate this. So real time has advanced. We'll call this a week. And this let's say this was a day. This is a scene that happened on a day. So it took us a real time week to finish this scene. And let's say we want to start a new scene. Like I said, we're going to start it from the now line. And this might take a day, but it might take another week to play out. And so sometimes you're playing catch up, but this is the thing. This is the thing. The world doesn't stop moving just because you don't look at it. So what happened here? That's the question, right? If you just skip past all this time and you pick up here, what happened here? Well, relationships continued to develop. Events in the world continued to happen. If something really important happens here and you're here on the real time line and you're like, yeah, but this actual scene needs to be predicated on what happened here and it needs to happen right here, you go back and you just pin it to a past date. That's why I said if you're starting a new scene and not particular, then you push it to the now line. If it is particular, you just keep backfilling. And then this gap here, let me do it this way. Oops. Uh-oh. I lost my thing. I lost my arrow. There we go. This can really bubble out here. And now you can have like multiple weeks of like, well, what happened? And I enjoy that. It's like, well, what did Amy do over those last 2 weeks? She learned a new recipe for bread. I don't know. Like, I fill in that character space. It's like the world keeps moving. Vafi keeps delivering sermons on Sundays. Amy tends to the garden. Thane is practicing fighting, dragons with Irina in the backyard. So now, okay, this is what I do. Now I'm here. I'm writing a scene with Amy. I cannot write Y's to save my life on this thing. Okay, now I'm here with Amy. As I write the scene, as I set the scene, I put into my non-dialogue, but I put in like recaps of this time. If Amy is going to have a scene now with Thane, I am going to, as a player, make reference to like, oh, how have you been? How has their training with Irina been going the last 2 weeks? Just because we didn't play through this in scene doesn't mean it's not happening and I can't reference it and make the world alive. But I get to keep pushing forward with the now line. Whatever interesting is happening is always going to happen on the now line. And this addresses something that I think is really, really powerful about this one-to-one time right here. This is what I think is so cool about it. Have you guys ever read an adventure path or a module? And it's like, boom, the town is attacked. And then the next day, we go adventure. And then the next day, after we defeated the thing, now we're getting called, we get a letter. And we have to go travel. So maybe like 2 days pass with nothing happening, and then boom, there's a new dungeon to explore. How many levels did you level up in here? Did you level up once? Twice? Did you level up 3 times in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days? This is one of the things that I love about our one-to-one time and the pacing of play-by-post and the ability it gives you to live in a world. Okay, the seasons feel real because I look at the sun outside and what time the sun rises, and that informs for me what time the sun is rising in this game. Okay, this is a funny story. This is a really funny story. So, how do I set this up? This is an Amy scene. She was trying to play something off nonchalant, like she wasn't spying on somebody or something like that. It was during this deal, this mafia was trying to interrupt this wedding, and it was a whole thing. And I looked at the date of the scene, and I looked up what the phase of the moon was during that day of that scene, because we're using our calendar, our real world calendar. So I looked up what the phase of the moon was because I had this funny idea that she was going to try to blame her behavior because she went off. Oh, that's right. She interrupted this like meeting that was about to happen, and she made this whole scene so that the meeting couldn't happen between these evil people and this bride she was trying to help. And so this mafia guy like confronts her about it afterwards. He's like, "Yeah, that was quite the scene the other night." And she's like not wanting to draw attention to herself that she's trying to get mixed up in this business. So I looked up the phase of the moon, and then I was like, okay, this is hilarious, and I'm going to do it. I had her roll whatever check or something like that for a lie. She was just like, oh yeah, no, we've worked all that out now. Everything's fine now. It was just that time of the month. And I know enough about women's health. I know that's not like how it works for everybody every time, anything like that. But that was a moment where I got to use the real world thing and have this character like try to be like, oh yeah, that little episode that I had, whatever, I was just whatever. And again, like I have a female character. She does not represent all females. Okay. So anyway, it was hilarious. And I was able to do that because I could look at the calendar and be like, what day is it? Now I'm going to try and check to see if she can lie her way out of the fact that she's trying to interrupt this mafia activity by trying to play it off like she was just PMSing. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious. This is very similar to writing novels. You aren't restricted to real time or any particular time scale. It's very powerful if you can master it. Yes, good point. I want to address this. One scene can take place over seconds and another can go through years. Yup. I really like the practice of filling in new scenes to the now line by default and allowing for backfilling as desired. Very practical. Yes, I like it too. That's why I do it. So this is more complex than a freeform novel since you are anchoring the game time to real time periodically. Yeah. So it slides behind and then you re-anchor it whenever you can. You know, if I'm going to now run a mission where we're going to go into a cave and like fight some like hobgoblin chieftain that shows up, it's not going to be by necessity right here because that's the next thing that happens in the timeline. It's going to be whatever day we actually got to, and it allows the world to breathe and develop in all of this space in between. And then, you know, you're now 3 months down the road and you're like, you know what would be interesting? I wonder if I want to write a scene with somebody that happened like right here in this little nugget. It was after this and it was before this, and that's why this timeline is so important to me. That's why I particularly obsess about this. Oh, did that not let me? Wait. I know how to do this. I have to choose this tool and that tool. Haha. Oh, it's layered too. Look at all these things I'm learning. What a mess. Okay, sorry. Let me move this over here. London. I need this because I need to know. If the scene that I'm going to run here, I need to know what's happened before, and I need to know what has not yet happened when I'm writing this scene. That is so vitally important to me, and it's not as important to everybody as it is to me, but I need this. That's why I run this tool. I'm like, y'all, enjoy this if you like it. This is for me. This is so that when I put a mission together and I have the travel time here, and then people are like, well, when will this character be back? And I'm like, oh, I'll calculate that out for you. I expect this to happen over the course of this many days. Potentially there's going to be this many days of travel. This is kind of actually spoilers, if I'm honest, you know, if you don't want to know these things. But then people are like, well, this scene is happening now. Is this character back from here yet? And I'm like, yes, they should be. I don't even know if I'm circling the right ones, but whatever, you get the idea. This revolutionary meeting literally requires that a character from here is back in town and is here for this. So now what happens? Because this isn't resolved yet. What happens? See, this has a question mark here. What happens if this takes longer to resolve? Then I take this and I push it down the timeline because it's not anchored necessarily to a time. It does have a date currently in case anybody wants to know, but if we have to, we will fix the timeline and we'll put it somewhere that it makes sense. And that's how I do that. So that's how that works. That's why I'm so obsessive about it. What are you saying about? Yeah, so the writing novels piece. I've made this comparison before. Because I also wrote the campaign guide for this game. And it was at a time, actually, I wrote the campaign guide. New Dawn was having its first anniversary event. So we had an annual event where we had like, I'll just draw it on this calendar. We had, multiple fronts of combats happening. This was all one event, and it was happening on a particular day. And these were all separate combats run by separate GMs with different party members. This was our first anniversary event. And So that was happening in real time. It was our first anniversary event. The first, or maybe, I guess it would have been the first season of Northern Reaches was ending. Northern Reaches was ending right at this time. And I thought, you know what? Maybe there are some Pathfinder 2 players who would be interested in seeing another mega game on the server. And so I wrote this extra size length newsletter for Play by Post talking about this whole event we had just had. I think, that's actually the reason. I don't know if you all know this. This is the reason why our anniversary events give double XP. I threw the double XP into the first anniversary event as an incentive to bring anybody else from Northern Reaches who wanted to come try out New Dawn. And because there were so many hurdles, people being like asking all these questions. How does it work? Like, what if you can't post? Like, what if you can't get to a computer in time? All of these things that I've talked about so far, there were people who were struggling with those things. And I was like, okay, here's the deal. Like, I promise you it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Your characters don't need to know what's going on in this world. Just come in. You can do this event. You know, you can join at level, what was this? This was level 8. This was at level 6. This was at level 3. This was at level 1. I ended up running both of these. Ike's ran this one. Cyber ran this one. And then Gid ran, like, using the Kingmaker combat rules. He ran a thing. And then later on, when this was all resolved, he ran the next day after we went on the offensive with another team. Anyway, point being, in the campaign guide then that I wrote for New Dawn that I released alongside that article, I put out like 12 pages of content this day. One of the things I wrote in there was one of the headlines says, isn't that just novel writing? Because I was talking about self-GMing. Like if you're going to run scenes or do solo journaling things, or like players who aren't comfortable releasing or taking that control, and they're just expecting the GM to like lay everything out in front of them and the player just reacts, which I think sucks, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. I wrote this section in the guide that said, isn't that just novel writing? All of this play-by-post posting and all of these scenes that you run, and sometimes you just run a scene with another player and the GM has no oversight to it whatsoever because there is no GM. It's a multi-GM. We're a commune. We're a play-by-post commune. And so in that section, I explained how while it might feel like novel writing, because you have a lot of power to just decide what happens. You can make things happen. You can create scenes for yourself. You can self-GM in New Dawn. And you can do that, I think, outside of a game like New Dawn and play-by-post in general, because you can go backfill in space and be like, hey, like maybe you check in with the GM. Let's say it's Girl by Moonlight. Hey, I've already done my obligation scene, but I'd love to kind of explore what happens between this character and their mentor. Like, are you cool if I just run that off to the side, or do you want to be involved? And they're like, I don't have any plans for that kind of relationship. Go ahead and run it. And so they just run with themselves or bring in another character, whatever. Isn't that just novel writing? And the answer is no. And the reason is you pick up a novel. I've given this story before. You pick up a novel and you go, wow, like, that's so cool. I'm reading a book. Isn't that neat? They wrote it so well. Well, no, they wrote it. And then they went back and they edited it. And then they gave it to a professional editor, and then they edited it. And then the publisher got involved, and they decided the title of the book and the cover. So you're getting this like finished product that play-by-post is never going to give you, this polished finished product, because the second you hit enter on a play-by-post post, it is like written in stone. Not entirely. You can go back and change things, as I've explained. But it's never going to be a novel, because... And I gave this example the other day, too. You don't go through a campaign, an RPG campaign, whether it's live play or play-by-post, and you don't get to the end and say, wow, team, great first draft. Great first draft. Now, when we're doing a revision, let's think about moving that fight with the trolls. We had it happen after like the Winter Festival, but I think it would actually make more sense for like the stakes and the tension of like that particular arc in the middle there if we moved the troll fight to before the festival. So let's go back and let's change things around. None of that happens. And also you have one author and maybe one or two editors touching a book, whereas here you have multiple GMs, multiple players, all contributing things, and as they contribute things, they get like locked into the fiction. So it's like this living. it's like this living, breathing story that you're watching take life before you, and you can go back and put things in the past, and you can move things into the future, and you can have side scenes, and you're not taking away from anybody else at the table, because there is no table, so to speak. And it's really, really fascinating and beautiful to watch unfold. It is unlike anything else that I've seen. It is different enough from live play to warrant its own thoughts and considerations. It's far different from a book. It's different from a movie. It's different from a show. It's like its own thing. And I just find it really, really, really fascinating and rewarding. Clearly, I have a lot of thoughts about it. So, that's cool. That's some more thoughts about that. What else have we not talked about yet? We've talked about initiatives. We talked about what didn't work with Fabula and how you might fix it if you have an initiative system of that sort, or other highly tactical RPGs. We've talked about speed. We've talked about how you can like fracture your attention into several different things at once, whether it's multiple characters in the same campaign, multiple games across systems, multiple events across the same game, mega game, not mega game, whatever it might be. We talked about the now line, which is a really fascinating part of it for me. We talked about how the real time, this is one of the greatest benefits of the real time, I think, is again this instance of, and people have addressed this, like you're in an adventure path, things happen fast, and like you've gained 5 levels and it's been like 3 weeks of game time, and you're like, how did that happen? And how have, okay, this is the question, how have the other NPCs in this world not leveled up just as fast as we have? And why isn't everybody level 6? Like, why are there commoners at level 1? Like, are they doing anything? Are they barely trying? Like, we killed like 5 goblins and we gained a level, basically, is what it could feel like. So it makes the leveling feel earned over time. And even so, we found out that New Dawn was going too fast for our tastes. Well, that was partly because we had another challenge, and still do to this day, is always about GM bottlenecking. You can only participate in content that exists, and sometimes there isn't content for you to pursue getting experience or gold. And so one thing that we did is we reinforce role-playing through what we call FBP, or fluffy bullshit points, which is taken from fluffy bullshit time, which can alternately be called non-mechanical roleplay. Oh, there's a lot for you to digest. So that's actually, FBP is probably worth talking about. And it's probably worth talking about after I take a short break. So I will be back in just a few minutes. I'm going to refresh some beverages, and then I'll be back. I'm going to talk about reward systems in play-by-post and how you can shape what you want to see from your players and your groups through reward systems. So that should be fun. I'll be back in just a minute, and hang out until then. Okay, we're back. Oh, we're going to play the song again. Okay, why not? I'll let the song play. All right. Hope you're all still doing well. Hanging in there. Hang in there. We got more to talk about. Let's talk about... Let's get our tablet to work. Hello? There we go. All right. Rewards. That is the craziest R I've ever drawn in my life. And you can't see what I'm doing because I didn't switch to this. There we go. Rewards are tricky. Like I said, when you have something that takes a while to resolve, what's a good example? I said missions take, right here, a mission in New Dawn might take 2 to 4 weeks to play through. So during those 2 to 4 weeks, that GM is probably not running another simultaneous mission. It's been done. I'm currently running 2 simultaneously right now, which is a lot. It's a lot. But it doesn't always happen that way. So you have this GM bottleneck because now you have like 2 to 4 weeks of that GM not being available, and hopefully somebody else is running something, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're busy playing in your mission because maybe somebody can only really like play or run. They can't do both at the same time. You know, everybody's schedules in live are different. So how do you keep rewarding players when you literally can't offer them content to get your classic XP if you're doing a Pathfinder 2 or anything else trad? And what we came up with was, first you need to know what FBT is. This is a term that was coined by Derek Melinda and a group of his friends as they played, which is basically, they call it fluffy bullshit time. I know that term does not resonate with everybody. They don't like the use of the term bullshit because they think it's judgment on the roleplay. They have said that that's not how they mean it, but some people still don't like the word. I proposed a little over a year ago an alternate sanitized term, if you prefer it, for NMR, non-mechanical roleplay. I think this pretty much speaks for itself. It tells you exactly what it is. So I think it's a pretty good term. But these are interchangeable as far as when I use them. That's what I'm talking about. So we came up with FBP. And this was a joint effort. I think it was actually Min Andreas who suggested the name. Yeah. Actually, yeah, because the concept preceded the name. Gid started doing this. Gid, Galarian Adept, who started New Dawn, kicked it off back in the day. We used to call it RP XP. So you could get experience points from engaging in roleplay. And we said, okay, how do we want to do that? And it went through multiple iterations. In the initial phase, not knowing like how long this game would run or what the pacing would be like, Gid used to just award us 300 RP XP every week. Which means if you know Pathfinder 2, it's 1,000 to level. So if after 3 weeks you were like kissing leveling. And then Gid would, if he thought somebody had done something particularly cool, he would give them 400 on a given week. And so that was like actually really exciting. It was like, oh, can I impress Daddy enough to to get the extra 100 XP? But this was all done through whatever subjective means that he was evaluating. And then we realized, hey, we're leveling way too fast. We want to slow things down because we want to tell a more grounded story. And so eventually, yada, 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 whittled it down to 100 per week. And we also, at this time, this is when the conversation opened up to all of us. I think Min Andreas proposed the name FBP for fluffy bullshit points, and we started tracking them weekly, and we came up with a very, very particular system to reduce any amount of angst around this system in the first place. So this is how it works. Did you roleplay this week? If you did, you actively go into a particular post and you state what your character did this week, just a line, just a summary, and then somebody will go through and they will award you these 100 points. We also broke it out into a different like category than XP. So XP was a different thing. XP that you earned classically could be used slightly differently because we made it so that FPP couldn't like rocket you up past level 10. It was a whole thing. And we have a new system now. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the idea was that you would self-report and nobody would audit. And there's a reason for that. Because we do not want to have this subjective decision making. Even Gid was uncomfortable with this after a while. He's like, I don't want to like tell people that their role playing wasn't good if they didn't get the bonus. So we said, okay, you self-report, you get your 100 a week. That means that it's going to take 10 weeks of role playing to get to a level, assuming you don't get any other source of XP. So you're leveling about every 2.5 months. And we were like, that feels like a pace that we feel pretty good with. Because that's about 20 months to get to level 10 from level 1. You know, so that's 20 months now of real world time. It's also 20 months of... Oh, I lost it. It's 20 months of in-game time. So you don't have people doing this superhero race, you know, to leveling up. Now, since then, we've done all sorts of different things. It's a long story. Someday we'll do an entire New Dawn stream, maybe, if I don't put it all out there before then. This nobody auditing thing, this actually has caused not an insignificant number of challenges. One time, somebody claimed FBP, and I think I was running the tracker at the time. Because currently it's just whoever gets to it first. We have a GM council, kind of. It's just the 4 most active GMs. And other people can jump in and out of that group as they see fit if they want to know the behind-the-scenes stuff. But there was one time somebody claimed, and I was like, I don't think they posted anything this week. And I went back, and I found that they had posted as the character on like the end of the prior week and had not done anything in that week. And I was like, hey, you didn't actually post. So, not going to give you these rewards. And I think it was a mistake on their part. I think they just got in the habit of claiming it every week, assuming that they had role-played with any given character. And I was like, no, you actually have to do it. I did that, and I felt terrible. Even though I was in the right, and even though they hadn't paid attention, and they hadn't done it right, I felt so bad. So I was like, okay, that's it for me. Going forward, I will never check for anybody. I will check for like newer players to make sure they understand it if I'm running it at the time. But I never wanted to be in that state of like judgment of what was enough RP, and certainly what was good enough RP. Absolutely did not want to get into that space. That's not what I'm here to do. You know, it's about activity, not about quality. Actually, I should write that because that is important. So this is how you can reward. If you have any sort of experience system in any game, figure out an amount that you're comfortable with. If they got no other source of XP, how long would you expect them to get to a level? Figure out, crunch out what that number is, make that a weekly thing. Because then you can just like clockwork, go into that post, ping everybody that week, be like, hey, report your play activity for the last week, and you have a week from today to claim it. So that's what we do. It's always week chunking ahead. But you're after activity, not quality. Now, what if somebody makes one post? This is what you're going to have to decide if you're running a game like this or a game of any sort, and you're trying to reward role-play, play-by-post activity. What if they only make one post? Well, there's only one way to steer clear of this judgment, and it's to just steer clear of it across the board. If somebody makes one post, do I personally think that's enough roleplay for you to get 100 FBP, 100 experience points? No, I don't. But how do I show that without punishing them or making an example of them or calling them out? The only way I have to show that is if I have a character who I don't think I did enough with to not claim and to lead by example. So I've had weeks where like Maple Wind, one of my characters, she maybe said like 4 things in like one scene, and I didn't claim. And people are like, hey, you forgot to claim for this character. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't think that didn't meet my standards, and so I don't claim the FBP. That's the only way that you can influence this sort of thing. Do not go after people for if they did enough or not. It will blow up in your face. It will not be a good time. So if somebody does one post and they're like, oh, I made my one post a week, like, under the gun to get it. I'm like, yeah, it's not in the spirit of what this whole system was for. It was supposed to reward, like, again, like activity with other characters, potentially as much as you can. If they're not available, of course, like write your own little side scene, whatever, get it done. But that was the intent of it. But yeah, you just don't want to find yourself in that judgment place. This actually happened a lot and I wasn't there for most of it, but Northern Reaches is the big mega game over at Knights of Last Call. They're in season 4 right now. And I played in season 2, and I could not do live play. So they actually involved all these systems of like in-character role play, coming off of like seeing us do it in play by post. I think they were partly inspired by us. I have no idea. And so they were like, okay, in these threads, the tavern or the whatever, or if you make your own side scenes, as you post, there's a little XP counter that'll track up, and then once you hit like a level using a Discord bot of a certain amount of activity, then you get rewards. And I was like, that's amazing. That's so cool. And I came in and I brought a character and I actively was running scenes and I was creating situations. I created a scene where he was coming back to the tavern because everybody was active in the tavern, but nobody was really doing scenes. Like they didn't like get how, or they weren't interested. So I would make sub threads where I'm like, this character is going to go to the market. Does anybody want to come with? And some of the other people who knew the play by post thing would come with, and we'd do these really cool scenes, like dialogue, interacting with each other, building out the world. Other people were just, they just hung out in the tavern, and they would come in and they would post, and the meme became that they would just like talk about breakfast. And it became such a meme that it was like, what's the word I want to use? It was overtly like they'd just be like, yeah, I love bacon, I love bacon and eggs. Do you have any bacon and eggs? And that was their role play. And they would just do it over and over and over again for like months while Northern Reaches was going on. And I was like, wow. Because they were just gaming the system to get rewards. And I was like, that's not in the spirit of how any of this is supposed to be going. But you know what? I'm just a player here. I'm just going to keep doing my scenes because I'm doing it for the love of the game. And then also there was a player, and again, not to call anybody out. If anybody ever sees this and you're like, wait, that was me. Yeah, I do have a little bit of judgment about it, but you know what? You do you. Because they were also getting rewards for solo journaling to actually build out their characters so that they weren't just a walking stat block. Right incentive. But what they would do is they would go in and they would make a solo post. And I saw somebody admit to this brazenly. They didn't care. They were like, it's not against the rules. They're like, yeah, so I write out a few paragraphs in a Google Doc. And then because the XP bot, it doesn't count when you've posted, unless it's like more than a minute apart. I just chop this up and I post one sentence at a time. So they would just sit there for like 10 minutes and they would just post. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because they weren't interested in the role play. I don't think. If they were more interested in just farming the rewards through an exploit, and drove me crazy. So when I talk about how we do FBP, how we do activity, not quality, nobody in New Dawn does this stuff, this like just cheap, low effort, whatever. The amount of posts, may be up or down for certain individuals. But yeah, if you're ever going to do a system like this where you're trying to reward engaging with the role play, do not audit it. Do not put yourself in the judge's chair. Just don't do it. If somebody wants to exploit it, let him exploit it and maybe have a conversation later about the intentions of the system, but don't go for it. The other thing that was cool is that we do for our play-by-post is the FBP log. So this is where you claim, and then whoever's running the mechanics of it that week, they go through and they reward. And they go through and to let you know, this is our universal symbol of got it. There's the white check mark emoji. If they put that on there and they put you in the list, the pinned post, then you know that you're good for the week and it's been added to your sheet. But also, the intent of this, and this sometimes it wavers from this, and I try and gently nudge people back to it, is that this is a way for people who can't read everything, all of this, if they can't read all of this, I thought I had a square drawing tool for a second. I don't know why I drew that so terribly. If they can't read all of this, then a side benefit of this FBP log is that they can use this to like catch up on what's been happening. So when it says, I don't know, Amy took her relationship with Vafi to the next level, and somebody's like, oh, I want to read that. Then they know to go and look for it. Thane came back from an adventure and killed a guy. Which is not how Logan wrote it, but you get the idea. It was meant to be, as a side benefit, a catch-up tool. Because back in the day when I was absolutely crazy, not only did I do all the scene tracker, the FBP posts, wrote the PvP newsletter, ran events and missions when I could, I forgot I even did this. I used to do a weekly summary, and I would summarize every single thing that had happened in every single post of New Dawn. And that was way too much, and I don't think people even read that. That was my tool to help people get caught up and know what was going on. And they were like, oh, I'm so glad you do. Some of them were like, I'm so glad you do this. And then the ones that weren't going to read anything anyway, don't care about anybody's character anyway, they didn't read it. So that was way too much effort for me. I've learned to safeguard my time a little better now. A little bit better. A little bit more delegation. So, role play rewards. And again, we would not need this if it were not for the fact that there is a GM bottleneck. And I don't think this has anything to do with the people. This bottleneck has to do with the fact that these things take time. It's this right here. This 2 to 4 weeks that you're like actively providing something is 2 to 4 weeks that you're not actively providing another thing. That was another element I tried to account for is before we were run as a GM council, there were still GMs, that would get consulted on things, but there was one overlord, and it was like the final vote on any given thing. So when I was in that role, I was like, I commit to this group that like, if you want to go out adventuring, I will put something together for you. So I will not be the bottleneck. And it was too much. It was way too much. So, this reward system addresses the bottleneck. It lets people progress, because now you might run into a situation where, time is passing and you're not leveling up, and that also doesn't make sense. So, it's kind of like, are you getting the experience points in world for the fact that you exist and have conversations with people? No, you're representing the passage of time, and that, presumably there are other adventures. Again, it's these circles. And this is so messy. I should have drawn this cleaner. These globular circles of when anything could have happened, to explain how the world progresses, you have the freedom to like look back on this and say, we probably went out and did some adventuring. We probably went out and did something that would have given us experience points if we were sitting at a live table and playing through every moment. We probably are still progressing. We are training, with our mentors, and we are doing these things. So the FBP is not tied to the fact that you exist and talk in character. It's like a meta construct of you're earning it as a player for building out the world, and it's filling in this gap of like, how do you continue to progress when you can't because there's a GM bottleneck? So, there you have it. There you have it. What else? I didn't even consult my notes yet, which is remarkable. I don't even know where I put them. Oh, here they are. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, strengths. Yeah, I didn't even like specifically talk about strengths of play-by-post, but you can run some truly insane stuff. I've seen people run. Well, I'll use Ike's. Shout out to Ike's for his E12 event, which he had 4 combats running at the same time in the same physical place, but they were separated by timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, whatever. So they could see echoes of the other parties fighting this time attack, but they could only interact with things that were in their time shard, and they were all overlapped on each other. But moving physical items in one time shard would move them in the other. So he was constantly updating all of the maps all at once. I need to talk about mapping. He was updating everything all at once. And the the play pattern was going at different paces because different groups had players who were more or less available than others. So like the red shard was like 3 rounds ahead of the yellow shard that I was in. And so our characters actually got to see time speed up or behave differently for the different people that we were seeing echoes of, but we were still fighting the fight of our lives in our own shard and trying to keep NPCs safe. You could not do that in live play. I'm sorry. You just couldn't. No, I say that and I'm like, yeah, you probably could, but it would be a nightmare. And then we've had other GMs run like entire sieges on like a city's walls where, you know, the PCs are running siege engines and there's like 35 different enemies, and they didn't resolve them as troops. They resolved them all individually. They took turns for every single one. They rolled dice for every single one, which I would never do. But you can do it in play by post because, again, if the time slows down here, and the GM is like, oh man, it's 12 o'clock midnight, everybody's asleep, but like I'm gonna resolve all of these enemies stuff right here, so that when they wake up in the morning, it's like back to them. And for them, it's like they went to sleep. And you hashed all of this out because you were a crazy person who took on a gigantic combat, and then they wake up and they're ready to go again. You didn't take time away from the table to resolve that stuff. You took time away from your sleep. But it just allows for really, really neat things. Let's see, what else did I put in these notes? Yeah, nothing takes time away from the table because there is no table time to be taken away from. Yeah, we talked about flashbacks, holding side scenes, holding scenes simultaneously in real-world time that nevertheless take place hours, days, weeks, or months apart in game time. Potentials for one-to-one time with real-world time and game time. You have time to think about your responses. I mentioned the 24-hour ping. You could have a group that has a 48-hour ping. Or they say it's a 24-hour ping, except for on the weekends, because maybe, you know, that group, they're doing family stuff on the weekends. Works well with initiative-based systems. Block initiative's great, yeah. I need to talk about reactions too. So let me make some quick notes here. Reactions, and what was the other thing I was going to talk about? Because I just said it out loud. Forgot already. Oh, mapping. Because that's another question people have. Oh, and we got to talk about Sage. And I need to make sure I'm not late for work today. I've got plenty of time. Okay. I said strength can handle large-scale and or complicated combats. Good writing practice encourages reading. We'll talk about mapping, dice rolling, bots. I think I've covered most of these notes. Scene interlacing, yeah. Oh, flashing back within a scene. Yeah. I gotta talk about that. All right. There's 4 more topics. 4 more topics. Hang in there, guys. I hope this is informative and educational to anybody who might look this up later. Again, like I said when we took our break, we'll take another break. There we go. It'll restart the song probably. Oh no, it didn't. This is not a polished, professional presentation, whatever, of everything. This is a scatterbrained shotgun approach at what I have found over the years. What's worked well, challenges, things that you might choose to do if you want to start up something like this yourself. Finding the right players, the right group is going to be huge. But yeah, so we got a couple more topics to cover, and that might take us up to about 11:30 my time, another 20 minutes, and we'll see how we feel when we get that far. Okay? Cool. Let's go back to it. So, flashbacks within scenes is an interesting topic, because sometimes, let's go back to pink. Sometimes you have a scene that is progressing, And you got these people involved. And you got different availabilities. The GM's been available this whole time. Player A's been available this whole time. Player B just can't get to it. Player C is available. And so there's interactions happening with these people who are available. Player D jumps in here. Now, here's the thing. Player D jumping in here. They might just choose to say, oh, my character was quiet during these times, but here's my internal monologue reactions to them. So when so-and-so said this, this is what I was thinking. And when so-and-so said this is what I was thinking. And now I'm speaking out. And now I've got a speech bubble. Okay? Player B has been unavailable this whole time. But we don't want to wrap out the scene without them. So we're like, hey, Player B, you got anything for this? Or are you cool with us moving on? Now, sometimes Player B will say, I don't want to hold things up. My character was there. They just didn't say anything. Or if they said anything, it wasn't impactful, yada, yada, yada. That's fine. We can move on because they don't want to feel like they're burdening the group. But here's what I think they should do. Could do. It's really up to them. Is they should come in here and they should contribute their stuff right here. But they can also go back and they can actually go back and actually write this out in the moment. And in their post, they can just be like, flashback to moments earlier. And then they get their dialogue out there into the scene. And you just backfill it in. I like this. I encourage it. I think that it allows for the fact that the scene can still move instead of stopping here and waiting. Well, we haven't heard from everybody yet, so let's stop and wait. Well, we haven't heard from everybody yet. Let's stop and wait. Instead, you flow through, and then you have players and characters who understand that they can fill in if it's important to them. And I think this is fine. I don't see many people doing it. I think this is fine, but I just gave this encouragement in one of my missions that I was running because there are some people who just haven't been as available. And I'm like, we're still moving forward because it's not like this is a combat. I'm just trying to get you guys along, But please feel free to go back and flash in anything that you want to flash in. Player D here just decided to reflect it all in internal monologue, but player B might decide, I'm going to go back and say, hey, also I said this at this point because I want to build up for something I want to say here. So this is flashback within a scene, and I think it's a really powerful tool to keep things moving and also just get this sense amongst everybody, this agreement that hey, we get it. Not everybody's available at the exact same time. So let's just work on it together. This is a very powerful tool. I love doing this. I love seeing this. And in the same way, it's just a micro version of the same macro idea of flashing back across the entire campaign. If this is the timeline that I sketched out with all the scenes as they go on, it's the same idea. It's like flashback to here, say that something happened, flashback to here, say that something happened. It's fine. It's all good. There's a lot of tools in Discord, if you use Discord, to link to specific posts and forward posts from one place to another and do all this stuff. So it's good. It's a good time. Cool. So there was that topic. What other ones did I want to cover? Here we go. Reactions. Okay, let's go back over here to the initiative side of things. Where am I? Sorry. Reactions. Reactions are challenging. In the same way that Fabula Ultima's initiative, War Rooming, over here, is challenging. Games that have reactions, like Pathfinder 2, you want to use those when they're triggered. Well, what if the trigger comes and goes, and then you pick up your phone 6 hours later, and you go, oh, I would have. I'll just write, I would have. ... Now, if that meaningfully changes something, you have a conversation. Do we need to rewind? Do we need to go back? There's a tool to fix this, but you can rewind. You can retcon. You can whatever. If it's oh, I would have done a reactive strike and gotten an extra damage hit in there, go ahead, roll the attack, roll the damage, whatever. If that would have killed it before something else happened, we'll back up and we'll go back to when that happened and then let that player redo their turn. If it didn't kill the creature, then fine. Like, we captured it. We got the damage out there. Everything's fine. The way to handle this is to know your players and their characters. So one thing that we'll do when we think of it is you're going into a mission and we'll say, give me your armor class, your saves, and your reactions. So before we even start, everybody throws those out there so that the GM knows when they hit a character. You don't have to wait to see if they hit or not. For this reason, some GMs might, in play-by-post, share enemy ACs. Because really, at the end of the day, like, what are we trying to preserve this big mystery about? Whoa, what's the AC of the monster? Yeah, could it make a tactical difference if you don't know? Sure, but like, you're going to know which one's the biggest enemy in the room, and if it's Pathfinder 2, you know higher level means higher AC. You already know tactically what's going to be easier to hit or not, so it's like, you know, I go back and forth on this sometimes of just being like, just share the ACs of the monsters. Like, maybe I'll start doing that whenever somebody hits, I'll reveal the AC. That might be a good way to do it. But your PC saves so that you know what their saves are. You know, if you're rolling anything. My brain just turned off for a minute. But this is the more complicated one, is the reactions, because at higher levels, certain characters have a lot of different reactions. But, you know, at a certain point, you get to know that the fighter is going to do reactive strike when the enemy stands back up. So you say, you get to the enemy's turn, the enemy stands back up, and then you ping them, and you're like, boom, here's your reactive strike opportunity, go for it. And you preempt that, so you just keep things moving. So this is just stuff you learn as you go. But systems that have a lot of reactions are going to run into similar struggles as Fabula Ultima did, where you're going to have all these stopping points where you're checking in. Every time you have to check in, play stops. So that's why, wow, I can't draw a straight line to save my life. That's why systems that are very prescriptive about, very prescriptive about the order that things happen in, the less you guys have to discuss and plan, the smoother things are going to go. So reactions are a little bit of a wrench in that. And the funny thing is, reactions and their design, for people that love seeing reactions, is what do? They keep players engaged at the table so they don't check out when it's not their turn. They are designed to be an attention-grabbing mechanism, in a way, and to give you something fun to do when it's not your turn. Because when you're at a linear table, when you're at a live play table, this is your turn. This is not your turn. And this is your turn. And this is not your turn. And people check out. They just think other things. So reactions have been a tool that designers have used to keep people engaged. And I mean, also they're tactically interesting, right? You can choose from different ones and different triggers and how they go off and what they do and what they bring to the party. So they're fun, they're nice mechanically, but this is the added benefit, is they keep you focused here. Oh, you've never... Deep Priest, yeah, for sure. One of the things that this book does, Eldamon, is that the two classes that are in here, they all get a reaction. It's actually, you know, tactically as well, if you have a character that doesn't get a reaction from something, you should find a way to get a reaction, because a reaction is basically getting a fourth action on your turn instead of 3. So it is extremely valuable to have one in your back pocket. A lot of the ones that are like commonly chosen are like reactive strike from fighters and barbarians and whoever else can hit stuff. But there's a lot of other good ones out there. Champions in Pathfinder 2 are built around reactions and being able to negate damage from people. So that's another reaction that triggers all the time. If you know a champion has a reaction to prevent damage and they're within range to prevent that damage, you hit them with the monster and you go, by the way, ping to this person, hey, your reaction should go off. Let me know if you don't want to use it. Otherwise, I'm going to assume you do. Because there may be a tactical time where you want to save your reaction for something else. Aiding is another topic, because the aid mechanic in Pathfinder 2 anyway is actually a reaction. You pre-roll something. Well, you don't pre-roll.
We pre-roll. In play-by-post, if you're going to aid somebody, you declare that you're using an action to aid. You pre-roll so you know if you succeed or not, because then the person who's going to take the action to be aided knows what bonus to add, so they can do it all at once and they don't have to wait for you again. But yeah, Eldamon, the book, the Elemental Avatar, and the Eldamon Trainer, they all have reactive powers. And then you can start to choose between different ones and mix and match and do all sorts of cool things. So, I mean, that book was entirely written by Mark Seifter, who was one of the lead designers on Pathfinder 2 in the first place, and has definitely talked about how reactions are a tool to keep people engaged and also have extra utility in combats. So, yeah, definitely makes sense. And which of those priorities is most important to any given designer at any given time? Whatever. It might just be a side effect that they don't really care about. They're like, I don't care if people stay engaged or not. I just like the tactics of it. Okay, fine. It does, though, have the effect of making people pay attention to know when their thing might come up. So, cool. All right, what are my other topics? Mapping and Sage. So, have we written enough on the board yet? Let's go over here. Let's talk about mapping. I kid you not. Even by the time that I was running Explorers, Pathfinder 2, I made my first maps. In Microsoft Word. Do not do this. This is not a recommendation. But the point that I'm making is anything that can communicate visual information works. It really doesn't matter. You could hand draw your maps on graph paper. And you could take a picture of it with your phone, and you could upload it to the Discord channel. And that would work. VTTs have really pushed the limits of immersive graphics and effects and lighting effects and this and that and the other thing. You really don't need any of it. You could run most of these games entirely as theater of the mind, believe it or not, even though Pathfinder 2 is heavily tactical. Mark Seifter, designer, apparently runs his home games in theater of the mind, and he's just I just remember everybody's spatial position relative to each other and the distances between them. And it's okay, well, your brain is a computer, and we love you for it, but not everybody can do that. I have since evolved. I evolved from Microsoft Word to what I use now is Google Drawings. So I go into Google Drawings, I find some basic map image, I just Google image search, whatever, and I'm like, that'll work. I put it together. Sometimes I have to grab a transparent PNG of a graph itself, is that what I mean to say? Yeah, grid. And then I'll overlay that onto the map in Google Drawings. I'll size it down so it's the right scale. And then I'll get images of character tokens and I'll throw them in there. There's a tool I use called VTT Token Maker on thefatefulforce.com. Anyway, you can literally just click and drag an image into it and boom, resize it, copy the token, throw it into Google Drawings, and then there you have it. So what I do then is I update as I'm able to, and I try to update the map anytime that a character needs to make a new tactical decision. I want them to have an accurate map of what they're looking at. I also do a cool thing where actually I semi-animate the scenes. So I make these little explosion, graphics, and so when a character is facing off against a big werebear, I'll put this little explosion thing in here when they hit, and then I'll do a screen grab of that and I'll post that into the Discord so they get this little animation of what's happening, and then I'll go back and I'll screen grab the whole map where they're just this little piece of it so that everybody else can see what's going on, and I'll remove the little damage thing. So this is the clean map, and then this is the action little screenshots. So I do all that through Google Drawings. Again, this is something that Google Drawings does not have a mobile app, which kills me inside. If you want to try and do this with Google and similar tools, a lot of people use Google Slides because it has a lot of the same tools as drawings, and it does have a mobile app. It's very hard to manipulate on mobile, but you can do it. So if you're in a pinch, you're waiting at the airport or whatever, and you still want to GM your thing, you can make it on Google Slides. And you can even share these to the group if you want, so they could go into the image themselves. I don't do that. I don't share the maps because sometimes I have little hidden things off to the side or little hidden notes, or my little I have a little shield graphic that I use when somebody blocks an attack, and I put the little shield here. So if there were 2 attacks and 1 missed and 1 hit, I do like little fun stuff like that. When people cast lightning spells, that's my favorite because there's a lightning shape in Google Drawings. So I put that on the map. Just fun little things you can do. But yeah, so I use Google Drawings for that because I'm near a computer often enough. And then if I ever get in a pinch and I'm not by a computer, I was telling somebody this the other day, is I go into the Discord channel, I grab the most recent image of the map that there is. I save that onto my phone. I go into just the Photos app on my iPhone, and I know there's apps for all sorts of things out there. And I will literally go into the little drawing tool, and then I'll draw X's and O's like it's a little football game. And I'll say this character moved from here to here. I'll draw boxes around where they were and where they are now. And this monster moved from here to here, so that they have a tactically accurate map to move forward. I do that from my phone, and then by the time I catch up to the computer again, I update the main image to be the new map. So you can always keep it moving if you need to, or you can just wait. Just wait till you're at a computer again, and let the players figure out. They should be able to track who moved how far and everything like that. So that's what I do for mapping. Basically any image tool. You can use a VTT, and you can actually just give access to players and they can move it around. It's just not live, so when they update things, it happens at the speed that they log in and move their stuff on the VTT. Or you can use the VTT and control them just like I do in Google Drawings, and then take screenshots of the battlefield and put that into the Discord channel. The more visual, the better, but it's not necessary. I do it when I have the time and the availability. I don't wait to make sure I can make a fun little graphic. If I'm not in a space to do it, I just don't do it, and they miss out for that attack, whatever. It helps communicate the sense of what has happened and in what order when you have a combat lasting a week. And then when you scroll back through, you can see oh yeah, this is when Sterling knocked the bird out of the air, which was a pretty cool moment. So there's mapping. That's what I do for it. And as you know, I've made entire videos for this channel in Google Slides, so to my great shame. Now, let's talk about Sage. Let's talk about Sage and Mr. Randall. Sage is an awesome tool. I think the website is still just sage.io. It's free. It's a bot that you can plug into a Discord server. If you don't have the owner rights, you have to get in touch with the owner to get it in there. But once it's in, they can give you permissions with the bot. Oh, it's rpgsage.io, isn't it? Yeah. Hold on. rpgsage.io. New Dawn, fun fact. New Dawn is the most active play-by-post game of all time on RPG Sage on the back end. Randall just updated us last week. We were number 2. We're not the most active server, I think, is what he told us. So there's another server out there that has a ton of different play-by-post games, but as far as the actual individual games, New Dawn is number 1. Oh, yeah. And Randall has actually played with us. Randall played a character in Explorers. Because, again, I made Explorers for an explicit purpose. I was like, there are players out here who are overwhelmed by New Dawn lore. There are players here who want to just play a straight-through type of game. And so that's where Randall joined us. And Ikes came in through Explorers. We had Quark. We had Min played a character. Who else did we had? We had White Wizard was in there. And Zach, who is a guy I just reconnected with the other day. So that was the team. It was a team of 6, believe it or not. It was wild. It was a good time. Anyway, Randall's super cool dude. Keeps his tool running really well. He does have a Patreon. So if you use Sage or are in a game that uses Sage, I encourage you to support our guy. He's got a $1 tier. Okay? So help a brother out. He's a cool guy, and he maintains the servers, and he like has to upgrade the servers because of all the use that's coming through. This product, if you want to call it a product, does aliases you can program in. You can do macros for all sorts of complicated dice rolls, different systems, things like that. It has built-in logic for certain games like PF2, 5e. I don't know. Someday, I just mentioned this to him the other day. I was like, I should have you on so you can repitch your deal, because he did a live stream with Derek like 3 years ago. It was part of this third-party con online thing, and that's where is that where we found out? I think that's where we found out about it, because New Dawn started, we didn't actually have any bots at all, and so all the character posts were just us as our Discord names. It's funny to look back at these old scenes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, we didn't used to have this. But so there's built-in logic for certain systems. So like if you have PF2 configured, it will automatically detect crits. Whether you got a natural 20 and it upgrades the success, or whether you hit 10 higher than the AC, it'll automatically do that and double the damage for you. So it's pretty sweet when you learn the dice formatting. It also has all sorts of cool things where you can do randomizers, like you put this in option A, option B, and then you just let that decide, rather than just being like, oh, roll a d6 and a 1 to 3 means this and a 3 to... No, just put it in like this and then it'll randomly pick. You can do as many options there as you want. You can do roll tables. So if you format something like this, check this out. Let's say you're asking a simple question, but you want to give it a 20% chance. If you type it in like this, and this is a line break, if you type it in like this, it'll run these odds as a list. So you could put in random monster tables, and then you could tie that random monster table to a macro. And then you could just run a simple macro that might be like, call it like your swamp monster table. You could just put in this. Or wait, no. Hold on. You wouldn't do it like this. You would program your macro so that you'd start the post like this, or whatever your command item is. You would just do swamp or whatever, and then the macro would fire. This is the macro, and then it'll give you the result, and then it'll say you find... I don't know if you can do subtables. You probably can, because he's a brilliant guy. But it might be like, okay, you fight 2 goblins. And it'll do all that for you. You can put in, if you have a roll, D10 plus 3, secret, stealth. If you put the word secret in there, the bot will parse that word, and it'll say, okay, I'm going to take the result, and I'm not going to spit it out here. And I will instead send it either to your DMs as the GM, or it'll send it to a secret channel, or a channel that everybody has access to, but they know not to look into. So this word keys off if you need to have secret rolls. What else does Sage do? I mean, the aliases are great. You can put in images. You can have it post in embed form, so it'll post like this fancy looking thing. We don't use this, by the way. But then this will be the whole like character post, and then you have like your character art here, and it'll post that as an embed. Or you can just have it do standard post style, where you just get the avatar of the character here and then the name. This is all we use. We just do it this way. There's a GM character, so if you start a post with GM : it'll say Game Master or whatever you configure the Game Master to be. So when I did Girl by Moonlight, I changed the GM to have the avatar of the current logo of the series playset we used, and I changed this to Director, because that's what it's called in that game. So lots of cool fun stuff you can do with that. You can do ad hoc stuff as well. Like if you do this, I'll show you this trick. You do GM : and then I don't want to confuse anybody, so we'll just give this character a name Sam, and then you have to do it like this for some reason on the back end. And then you type your post. It will post this as Sam with the GM logo, but the name will say Sam. So sometimes you have somebody who's involved in the scene enough that you want to like have their name show up, but you don't want to program in a whole like new NPC alias, all that stuff. So you can just do it like this ad hoc. So that's also very handy. Anyway, it's a good thing. Like I said, if you use it or if you play in games that use it, consider supporting Randall. And that's RPG Sage. It does so much more than that. And just like that, we have checked off the 4 things I wanted to get from my notes. And there you have it. Just a little bit of discourse around play by post. I hope you learned something. If you've been playing with me, you probably didn't learn anything at all, actually. But if you don't play with me, that's how it works. That's the gig. If you come watch this later, somewhere down the road, maybe I'll have made a new, better version of this explanation someday in the future. But maybe not, because I don't have to. Clearly, I love play by post. I enjoy it quite a lot. I think it's a really rich format to explore for expression, and expression is like my jam, so that's all great. We've put a lot of thought into what works and what doesn't work over the years, especially with like a branching mega game with multi GMs. If anybody ever wants to know more about that specific angle, hit me up anytime. I'm everywhere that you'd want someone to be. I'm on the Blue Skies and the well, where else am I? I guess I'm just on the Blue Skies. But we do have the London Station Patreon, which links you into the London Station Discord. And I also have a $1 tier. It's broken. It's not supposed to give you access to everything that it does, but it does. And I've decided not to fix it. And someday I'll go back and just call it like the friends and family budget tier. I don't know what to call it, but like if you need the $1 option, use it. Otherwise, it's mechanically the same as the $3 option, which is probably the value that should have. But and there's tiers that go up from there, other bonuses. I mentioned newsletters that I write, so I do those monthly, called The Signal. That's at the $10 tier for the special articles that get written for those. They're nothing that great. You don't need to give me $10, but they're fun, so why not? And then from then on, then you're just throwing money at me, which, thank you, but unnecessary. Appreciated as I go into my second job today. But that is Play by Post. Not sure if anybody still hanging around has any other questions or thoughts on everything that we touched on today. If so, now's your chance. If not, then we'll wrap up here in a minute, and I'll wish you all a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll say all the other nice things. I think our good old friends are probably streaming over on Twitch, because they do around the same time that I do. Oh, you know what? We can Prisma to line up with when mine ends, so I can kind of hand off the Astro Prisma fans to Hime. Of course, you're very welcome. My pleasure. So, and then at that time, I may be playing their game that they're writing. So Hime is writing a game called Ballads of Dawn. It's a solo TTRPG, a romantasy that's specifically trying to emulate webfic, not webfic. I don't know what they call it. Go ask them. We'll go into their chat. Go ask them. Anyway, I actually have done quite a bit of playing of it, and they are working more on updating it. Partly they're feeling a little pressured because I was like, I might stream it. And they're like, oh no, I want to do more, get it more finished before then. But it does use a tarot card resolution system. So that'll be fun if we stream that, because I will be drawing, tarot cards, and then I can boom, be like, oh, we drew this. And then what they've done is really cool with the resolution for Ballads of Dawn, is that they're making their tables actually refer to the meanings of the cards. They're trying to actually have the tables of the events that happen have thematic tie into the cards themselves. So there are moments where you draw only from the major arcana, moments where you draw them from the minor, and you refer to the tables. You have a prompt, you write it out. It's a good time. The playthrough that I did, which I didn't finish, but the playthrough that I had started was really interesting. And of course, it's got romance in it. It's a romantasy game. So they may actually be submitting it. There's a romantasy TTRPG jam coming up, or I guess it's live now or whatever, but it's running through August. And I guess they're saying that they might be able to submit Ballads as a full, complete game to that jam, which would be amazing. So I'd be happy to help them out. Play through it and see if we run into any final thoughts, considerations. So anyway, that's who we're going to go raid is Hime Otsugi. They are currently doing, what are they doing? Are they doing the Archivium? So the Archivium is a solo TTRPG that they have been playing in the past months. They get up to so much. They're very busy. Oops, I had the speakers on. So, let's go. We'll go over there. There's the link. This is our friend Hime. We're going to go in and we're just going to say London Raid. And if you can't stick around, that's not the point. The point is to support our friends and say hi, and then let them say nice things about me if they want to. Sometimes they do. There's no ulterior motives at all. So I'm going to get that ready. We're going to go over to the ending screen, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. Love you all so much. Thanks for letting me rant and rave about Play by Post for almost 3 hours. A little bit long for a London hour stream, but I appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the Discord, and if you'd love to join, I'd love to have you. Also, still, we've got 5 days to try and get 8 more subscribers to the YouTube channel to hit 100 by the end of April. So we'll see if we get it, and if we don't, it's no big deal. But with that said, I love y'all. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time on London Station. Bye.